Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With the mid-season break slowly coming to a close, Karma's made his thoughts very clear indeed on the state of this current OpTic Texas team, believing it's the perfect environment to get the best out of Scump, and Rambo believes that he's still as coachable as ever. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I'll greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Chrome points this out yesterday if you guys have missed this so far, because probably some of you guys have missed this kind of point of discussion, so I'll mention it real quick once again effectively. So anyway, there's 24 games over just 2 days at the Prime Classic. I'm not sure yet, it hasn't been confirmed whether there's going to be streams for each of these games. I'm not sure how we're going to do it on the Breaking Point site, to be honest, and I'm pretty sure Chrome was saying he's going to need to clone Roosevelt like 9 times to make all the match graphics for this, but you know, still, it's going to be a tough time, but still, it's kind of CWL-esque era, right? We've got 4 games on at the same time in each of the groups over the first 2 days. Like, kind of crazy how much there's going to be going on here. Hopefully the viewership kind of holds up across all the streams, because if it does, then you know, it's probably going to prove to the CDL this is certainly the way to go, as opposed to the Warzone thing that went on a few days ago to not particularly good success. But yeah, May the 5th through the 8th, just looking at the OpTic games real quick, because we'll talk about them in a second. They play Toronto Ultra Academy, they play a Florida Mutineers in the group, and I'm pretty sure Minnesota's the other team in their group. They play them on a Friday, May the 6th. This also I thought was kind of funny actually as well, because Zero flying out, it seems, to Los Angeles, right, to get ready to go for this Modern Warfare 2 playtest. For you guys that have been around a few years, you'll remember this, of course, when Splice and Zero won the kind of MVP trophy at the Stage 1 playoffs back in Infinite Warfare, where they beat Luminosity Gaming in the grand final. That was Octane's team. In Infinite Warfare, Team Splice won Europe their first ever major championship in COD, but there was an asterisk next to the win. You see, they snaked the hell out of poor LG for the title. That's the thing. That was the snaking event. That was the king of the snakes, effectively, that event. Where snaking was kind of, it was maybe G8 before then, but effectively like crouching, you know, going a little bit prone, then standing up again behind cover. It was probably stronger in Infinite Warfare than it has been in any game since. Like, if you did it properly in Infinite Warfare, they just could not see you at all. Like, the animations were so broken that you could certainly see over, and they couldn't see you at all. So, like, definitely the European guys in the Splice were doing the best, Cellium impression, I suppose, and Cellium at that point wasn't old enough to compete, but he was an absolute demon with it in 8s and the like, and yeah, as Octane says, like, if MC was going to be easy back then, he would have absolutely ran my world. This also from Zero there, a bit of a response, of course, when he did win that championship in the end, so pretty cool stuff, but I believe now Zero is, at least in terms of current players that are competing, he has the longest streak between winning an event and at the present day, right, in terms of still competing. I think it's like 1,700 days or something, so who knows if London will get over the line this year. Of course, last year, a bit of an asterisk, because couldn't actually compete, but can't imagine that London team was doing much anyway, even with him on board. Let's dive into the OpTic stuff then. So a few days ago, here were the boys at the Mavs game, and despite a less than optimal Stage 2 major, there's certainly been a lot of praise for Dashy and, you know, Shotzzy especially so far this year. Most people seem to believe Shotzzy may be number 1, number 2 player in the game, Dashy there or thereabouts as well, and then Scump honestly is not too far behind, right? I think Scump deserves a lot more credit than he's getting so far this year. Illy as well has been a pretty integral piece, but didn't have the greatest performance really at the Stage 2 major. There was some other circumstances. It was just a crazy tournament in general, right, with some of the results that we did indeed go on to see. But OpTic have still played well enough over the first couple of events here that some people are still, like, when you do the power rankings, a lot of people will still put OpTic number 1, maybe FaZe number 1. It's there or thereabouts, to be honest. So they certainly still go here into the Prime Classic and Stage 3 as, you know, top favourites really to go on to win things, right? Because FaZe haven't yet proved they can actually win a Grand Finals. They can certainly prove they can make it, but their record in Grand Finals is 4-10 right now, right? So definitely leaves something to be desired. And there was also the discussion a few days ago about the greatest of all time, right? Like, who is it right now? Like, is Crimsix done enough still, or is Scump kind of moving up the rankings, especially by, winning the Stage 1 major so far this season? And even back to, like, the World War II days, there was talk about, wow, is Scump washed? Like, he's kind of fallen off, had a really tough year in World War II, and the last couple of years as well. But last year in Cold War, most people said, like, Octane made it very clear, he thought that, Scump, and I think even Crimsix said the same thing, was the best player on the OpTic team last season. Maybe didn't have quite the teammates to go with it, or quite the perfect environment to build around the team. And it's really been a very rare in Scump's career and history, really, where he's played with 3 younger players, right? We've got Shotzzy and Illy, who aren't quite rookies, but they're, you know, incredibly young and hungry, as is Dashy, right? Dashy's probably more hungry than he has ever been, right? Because after, you know, of course, a great start to his career back in Black Ops 4, the CWL Vegas event, he wins it, wins the MVP. Since then, he's had a pretty torrid time the last few years. Gets redemption, of course, at the Stage 1 major, but still, the entire team in general seems probably hungrier than any other iteration of the OpTic lineup that they have had in rather a long time. And of course, the vibes on the team seem to be pretty phenomenal. We saw even at the start of the season, the chemistry seems to be great between these guys. But like, and you know, Illy's always doing these tweets, another day to improve, another day to get better. Like, you know, no excuses, this type of stuff. And Scump's almost picked up on that, right? You maybe see more of those kind of tweets from Scump actually nowadays as a result of team with Illy. Like, Illy and Shotzzy have great chem, and of course, like, Illy and Dashy played back in the day as well. So the entire team dynamic seems to be pretty damn perfect. And Karma believes that that's really what's helping bring the best out of Scump, because he's probably played some of the best Call of Duty this year that he's really played in several years, right? Of course, he's not the incredible star talent that he was like a few years ago back in Advanced Warfare, like Black Ops 3 and arguably even slightly earlier than that, but like he's still doing an incredible job on the team. And the fact that he's still considered to be like a top 5 player in the game right now is that, you know, it's his age, right, and what he's doing and where the other players are that are his age and have been competing for this long and, you know, winning championships over 10 different Call of Duty titles, all this type of stuff just does make you think like, wow, this guy's really playing at another level compared to where a lot of his kind of peers are at the present time. And also, of course, doing an awful lot for the team, bringing these guys up, being the mentor, the leader to some of these guys, and having done it all, of course, in Call of Duty. And Rambo has a few words to say on this as well. So Rambo says effectively about Dashy that he's just way more efficient with his kills nowadays, just way more efficient with his playstyle. In previous years, he felt like, okay, Dashy was getting a lot of kills, the stats were great, we'll have a look at the stats here in a second, but still, the actual performance and the result of that wasn't really, well, left something to be desired, let's just say. And also saying that Scump, even from when he teamed with him back in the day, hasn't really changed all that much, right? Still very easy to coach, still very receptive to feedback and to kind of criticism at times, and Karma also making his thoughts known that this squad of 4 is pretty much the best team that Scump could have in terms of hunger and getting the best out of him as an individual.
How is it like coaching when he's been doing it for a while now? I mean, I don't think it really matters. I don't think a person's time, it's more their attitude towards receiving criticism that like kind of changes, but he's not. He's basically the same on that end from when I used to play with him.
About to go in there.
There's been praise for his new play style. What would you say is improved on this year? I mean, obviously I wasn't around last year. I feel like he's just been much more efficient from what I've seen compared to last year. This year, he's just been much more efficient with his routes and understanding when it's time to go forward. But I mean, I can't compare his comms from this year, last year, or anything else really, because obviously I wasn't there. I could tell it was from afar.
Like I said, I don't know. Like whenever Seth that's why I think personally, having Ender, Brandon, and Shotzi, who are all peak at playing that way. Like I said, even when people are bashing Brandon, bro, like he has, like the guy's stupidly talented, but they all have that, like they don't want to just sit there. They want to do more. And I think it's literally the perfect team for Seth, dude. Because I think those 3 all enable him to be like that, and you're literally getting the best version of him. Obviously, they're having a good time. They're all vibing together, but like, I don't know. That don't matter. I mean, it's a plus. But the way those guys all think and how they play, it's like literally perfect for Seth, bro.
So some pretty strong words actually here from Karma, of course, not too long after they won their major at the start of March. As he says, always hesitant last year, saying OpTic would win something during the pre-show. This year they're looking better than any roster they've had in the CDL. Happy for them, no doubt. So certainly since kind of the iteration of the CDL, I guess at OpTic, that the first year's OpTic was the Chicago Huntsman, right? Then last year's OpTic Chicago definitely left something to be desired. They could get top 4s, but not really too much further whenever they played the top teams. Certainly think this is one of the best iterations of the roster that they've ever had, really since the Dynasty days, no doubt. And that's the thing, right, with Scump kind of getting on as his career, it might make sense for him really to be kind of the sole leadership type guy on the team. Of course, in terms of in-game leadership and stuff like that, it's not always him doing the job. Ilya's definitely done a great job stepping into that role, and Shotzi makes some great calls at times as well. But in terms of like out-of-game stuff, this is probably a perfect dynamic really for Scump, because we can look at right here the teams of the last few years, like the Chicago team with Formal, Envoy, and Dashy, and all that jazz. And it was certainly a big talking point last year, right? The fact that Formal was kind of on the tail end of his kind of, well, career in Call of Duty, getting frustrated with the state of the game, didn't really want to get on and practice. I like the motivation maybe wasn't quite there with an OpTic team last year. And I do feel like in general, Scump feeds off the energy of the players on the rest of his team. Like if there's other players on his team that aren't going so hard, turning up late, like that's going to kind of creep into Scump as well. But if his players on his team are going super hard and they're there every day, turning up on time, that's going to kind of, feed into Scump as well. I think that's kind of the personality he has. So probably last year, we didn't get the best Scump, partly because the rest of his team weren't putting their best foot forward at all times. This year seems to be a very different story, and Karma believes that might well be the key, right? Because if we look back a few years to the Dynasty days, that was when they were all pushing each other so much, right? I mean, I guess this is the Dynasty right here, like at, latter half of Infinite Warfare, let's just say, with Crim6 like pushing the team along, everyone was super motivated, and the talent obviously left nothing to be desired either, and Karma probably believes that this kind of echoes a similar situation to what Scump has had nowadays. Of course, nowadays it's much more difficult to build a Dynasty team, just because of how much talent there is in the league, to be honest, nowadays. And just speaking of Dashy Stats, actually, because Rambo obviously had a few words to say on him, that like nowadays he just uses his stats to way more effectiveness, effectively, like much more efficient with the numbers he's putting up. These are his KDs. You guys might have seen this kind of talked about from Brian Stats once again. Like, well, I screenshot this ages ago, but now it's the perfect time to discuss it. His KDs since he joined OpTic, right? So Vegas, he had a 1.44, like one of the best individual performances at a specific event we've probably ever seen in COD history, to be honest. Like, that was a crazy one. Fort Worth has a 1.33, 1.29, 1.39, 1.05. The lowest he really had was that 1.05 and the 1.07 at last year's Stage 5 Major. But since then, like, everyone's just gone out of control, to be honest. I mean, look at these numbers. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And like last year, the numbers he had, despite being consistently third highest KD, number 1 KD, 5th highest KD, all this type of stuff, hasn't translated into any success at all. This year, they're like COD champs. Even last year, he had second highest KD at a 1.19. This year, a 1.31 and a 1.30 for the first 2 events. Like, these numbers are absolutely absurd, right? And Rambo says it's not just that he's putting up great numbers, but he's doing way more with those numbers nowadays, right? But it's just pretty absurd, right? Highest KD in the entire tournament, 6 out of the 14 events he's been on OpTic. Like, I mean, 12 events with a 1.10 and above, 10 events with a 1.20 and above. Like, I mean, that is just absurd, to be honest. He has one event, of course, back in the day. This event was a bit of an outlier, though, right? Because I'm pretty sure Arcitys also had like a 1.43 or something. Anyone who used the Tempest was just out of control that event. Now, I couldn't go a day after this happened without talking about this, because it was kind of going all over the place, actually. And the attach says, Elon Musk needs to buy Call of Duty and remove slide cancelling. So lots to talk about this, because of course he goes through and buys Twitter, 44 bill or whatever. Maybe it's time to do the same thing with Call of Duty. This also came out from the Mutineers. I'm not sure this really worked out too well for them. I think they might have got, not suspended, but anyone who was like a verified account that was kind of impersonating Elon Musk, got their account, either, I don't know if it was like suspended or, but they got their like name and profile picture removed and stuff, so not really sure what's happening there, but they tweet this out, buying the CDL and bringing back Uplink, right? So Uplink, like, what a game mode that was back in the day. Of course, like, they did try it in World War II. It was called, Gridiron, right? Where, like, the portal would be on the ground. Like, Line Manta always talked about, okay, what if you just have a ramp that you can run up and jump into the portal? I don't know. Uplink was absolutely phenomenal, though, especially with the boosting and the wall running and stuff. You could do some crazy, like, lineups, right, for the ones, which was always a good time. But yeah, maybe one day we get Uplink back, right? Hopefully they bring back jetpacks at some point. It can't be too far away from jetpacks returning, in my opinion. This also was quite interesting, though, from Adam Apicella. Elon Musk, hear me out, buy back MLG Gaming. So, like, well, MLG, I guess, and Major League Gaming. So, like, well, this, of course, was Adam Apicella's company, was then kind of integrated within Activision. This entity as a brand, it still exists, but it's not used anymore, because Activision basically just have it sitting there, doing nothing with it, which is kind of strange. Like, of course, Adam Apicella now started Esports Engine. So, like, I do wonder if he kind of wants to rebrand Esports Engine as MLG, if he could, and, like, get the branding rights for that back, and maybe Elon Musk could help, I don't know. Just thought it was kind of interesting about the internals of what Adam Apicella might be thinking about going forward. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button and tell us, YouTube gods, this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And I'm growing the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.